In the shadowed world of Cold War politics, America's top spy agency embarked on a quest far stranger than espionage or bombs. They searched for the ultimate mind weapon and stumbled upon something far more profound: the door to enlightenment. But did they ever dare walk through it? You've heard whispers of clandestine mind control, of experiments buried beneath redacted files and hushed congressional hearings. The truth is stranger and more spiritually charged than you think. And it didn't start in a jungle or in some dusty foreign embassy. It began on Ivy League campuses, in psychiatric wards, in basement labs, and within the minds of the unsuspecting. This is the story of how the CIA tried to hijack the human soul and instead accidentally kindled a spiritual revolution that still echoes today. In April 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles quietly approved Project MKUltra, a top-secret mission to master the human mind. The aim: create truth serums, memory erasers, even programmable assassins. Americans whose wills could be broken, rewritten, or weaponized for war. This clandestine program was born of deep Cold War paranoia and reports of Soviet mind control experiments. The goal? Dominate consciousness. At the helm of this dark venture was Sidney Gottlieb, a chemist known inside the agency as the poisoner-in-chief. He began assembling a network of psychologists, psych wards, universities, and covert labs, each a node in a vast psychological arsenal. Gottlieb's greatest find: LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide, the mind-bending compound discovered by Swiss chemist Albert Hofmann in 1938. This molecule could shatter the ego, dissolve identity, and open experiences that defied description. To Gottlieb and his superiors, LSD was the ultimate weapon, a chemical key that could unlock secrets, wipe memories, induce submission, an all-access sole password. They began dosing people en masse: prisoners at federal penitentiaries, mental patients struggling with trauma. College students promised cash for mystery studies. Even CIA agents themselves were unknowingly turned into test subjects, and perhaps the darkest experiment of all: Operation Midnight Climax. In the mid-1950s, Gottlieb authorized the creation of CIA-controlled brothels in San Francisco and New York. Prostitutes on the CIA payroll lured men inside. Hidden behind one-way mirrors, agents observed as the men's drinks were spiked with LSD. They watched, recorded, took notes on the effects. Not to heal, not to help, just to see what would happen. But LSD was unpredictable. It didn't always loosen tongues. Sometimes it broke minds. The drug was as chaotic as the human psyche itself. Some subjects laughed, some wept, some never fully returned. One man never returned at all. Frank Olson, a respected Army biochemist, was secretly dosed with LSD by his colleagues at a CIA retreat. Within days, he unraveled, confused, paranoid, convinced he had betrayed his country. He told his wife he had made a terrible mistake. 9 days later, he fell to his death from the 13th floor of the Statler Hotel in Manhattan. The official story was suicide. But decades later, a second autopsy revealed blunt force trauma inconsistent with a fall. The deeper truth remains buried. And Olson wasn't alone. In Canada, psychiatrist Ewan Cameron, funded through MKUltra sub-projects, subjected patients to what he called psychic driving. This involved high-dose LSD, forced comas lasting weeks, endless audio loops, and violent electroshock therapy. Cameron believed he could erase the mind and rebuild it. Instead, he left behind shattered shells of people, many of whom never recovered, never consented, and never knew who was funding their torment. As the years passed, the CIA began to realize something unsettling. LSD wasn't a reliable truth serum. It didn't make people obedient. It made them question everything. And then it escaped. By the 1960s, LSD had leaked out of the lab and into the wild. Some of the earliest volunteers, like author Ken Kesey, began sharing it openly. Harvard psychologist Timothy Leary became its most vocal advocate, calling LSD the key to spiritual awakening. His mantra, turn on, tune in, drop out, echoed across a generation. LSD had slipped from the hands of the military-industrial complex into the minds of seekers, rebels, and visionaries. What the CIA had tried to weaponize became instead a tool of liberation. This was not the Enlightenment they expected. Writers like Aldous Huxley described psychedelics as a reducing valve, temporarily turned off, allowing the brain to perceive a broader spectrum of reality. Alan Watts framed it as a shortcut to the mystical experience sought by monks and saints. For thousands, LSD became a sacrament, a way to transcend the ego, dismantle the illusions of modern life, and return to a state of cosmic unity. But with its rise came fear. Governments cracked down, the media demonized it, and just like that, the door began to close. By the early 1970s, in the shadow of Watergate and growing public distrust, the CIA moved to erase the paper trail. Most MKUltra files were ordered destroyed, but a cache of documents, over 20,000 pages, survived by accident, and in 1975, the Church Committee brought the truth to light. The public was horrified. Experiments on children, veterans, prisoners, and psychiatric patients. Unconsented drugging, psychological torture. The agency offered settlements, but no real accountability. No justice, but the spark had already caught flame. LSD became the centerpiece of a global counterculture. Musicians like the Beatles and the Grateful Dead, artists, therapists, even Steve Jobs later claimed LSD was one of the most profound experiences of his life. And beneath all of it, a deeper realization was growing that perhaps these substances weren't meant for control, but for transformation. Because the real power of psychedelics isn't in domination, it's in surrender, not in making someone do what you want, but in allowing someone to see who they truly are. This is the forgotten path to enlightenment. Not a doctrine, not a religion, but a state of being, one that requires letting go of identity, ego, and certainty. One that reveals how little we truly know and how vast we truly are. The CIA tried to breach the gates of the soul with force, but the soul doesn't open to violence. It opens to presence, to humility, to silence. Today, in a twist of fate, we're witnessing a psychedelic renaissance. Clinical trials now explore psilocybin for depression, MDMA for PTSD, LSD for anxiety and addiction. Academic institutions lead the way. Therapists offer integration circles. Shamans offer ceremonial spaces. The door is reopening, but this time with care, and yet the lessons of MKUltra still linger. We must remember what happens when sacred tools are placed in profane hands, when seekers are replaced by spies, when the goal is no longer connection but control. Because if psychedelics teach us anything, it's that intention matters, set and setting matter. Respect matters. These substances are not shortcuts, they're catalysts. And like any catalyst, they amplify what already exists. In a loving heart, they awaken compassion. In a wounded mind, they may surface pain. In the wrong hands, they can become instruments of cruelty. The journey toward truth is never safe, but it can be sacred. The same molecule that broke minds in the name of power also healed souls in the name of love. It all depends on the path and the pilgrim. So when we talk about LSD or ayahuasca or psilocybin, we're not just talking about chemicals, we're talking about doors, keys, mirrors, each one reflecting what we carry inside. The CIA saw the mind as a battlefield, but the mystics saw it as a temple. And sometimes the universe delivers the greatest lessons in the most ironic ways. A government program designed to control consciousness may have accidentally awakened it. And maybe, just maybe, the path to enlightenment isn't found in temples or scriptures, but in the ruins of failed experiments, in the ashes of secret files, in the stories of those who lost their minds and found their souls. If this story stirred something in you, share it. Speak it. Let it live. And if you want to go deeper into the hidden histories of awakening, transformation, and shadow work, subscribe to Awaken the Deep. This journey is far from over. Until next time, question everything, walk the edge, and awaken the deep within.